Hello, good evening, and welcome to the FB4 Daily. This is your Friday night show, and will be mostly a preview of the Aston Villa game. On the show tonight, I have Jim Fishlock and I have Peter Phillips. This show was brought to you, of course, by Paddy Power. If you gamble, please gamble responsibly and try to do so with Paddy Power. We're going to have a little preview of this Villa game. The Fabinho debate is going to come up, and anything else that comes up in the chat room, I suppose, absolutely throw it at us and see where we can go. Jim, how are you, my man? And welcome to the show for the first time.
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks, Gav. Thanks for having me on.
No.
Nice to get back into a little bit of podcasting, and looking forward to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, how are you, my man?
Yes, very well myself as well. Thanks, Gav. Looking forward to the show.
Good stuff. Now, we travel to Aston Villa tomorrow. 3 p.m. Nice 3 p.m. kickoff, and that's always one to look forward to. And it's not a rarity recently, but it's a rarity most of the time at Liverpool. We're usually on days that aren't Saturdays and aren't 3 p.m. But Jim, I'll come to you first. Liverpool have started the season exceptionally well. 9 wins and a draw from the first 10 games. A draw that probably they should have won the game. Form. If you went on form, they probably should have won the game. But just with it being your first time on the show, Jim, what have you made of Liverpool so far this season?
I think points-wise, the start has been, beyond everyone's, I guess, sort of expectations. Really, I wouldn't have at the start of the season thought we'd be ahead of Man City like we are. I wouldn't have thought that we'd be undefeated, because we finished the season great last year and obviously won the Champions League, but we do often throw in the odd poor performance and poor result out of the blue. But the fact that we haven't done that, and the fact that the team looks very mature, all developing at the same time. Tactically, they look very, very good. And, the front three, along with Fabinho, really do look as if they're on the top of their form. Fabinho's been excellent. But the concern is, obviously, as always, are we going to lose one of those front three for any great period of time? Are two of them going to sort of drop their form at the same time, which leaves us a bit exposed because there's not as many options at the front end of the pitch as opposed to midfield and at the back. But overall, it's been a fantastic start, and there have been times where we played some incredible football. But also what's good to see is that we've been grinding out the results which possibly we might not have been deserved to get, which in previous seasons would have caused us to drop points.
Yeah, the different ways of winning games, I suppose, is the way I look at it. As you said there, Jim, scraping wins, battering teams, getting past teams when we need to, going up the gears when we need to, not playing well and winning. It's a great formula to have. Peter, you've been on the show numerous amount of times as the season's pre-season and as the season's come on, and I've been on your show, The Cop Table. How confident are you in Liverpool every weekend? You get to, whether it's Villa away or it's Arsenal at home or whatever game's coming up. How confident are you at this stage in this Liverpool side?
Yeah, I think it's come to a point now when you're not nervous going into any sort of Liverpool fixture. It's one to they're all looking to look forward to, if you know what I mean. It's all the negativity surrounding the club has gone away, and like I say, every game it's a joy to watch, and it's one of them now where you're just looking forward to every single game without being apprehensive at all.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be apprehensive. Like, to be honest with you, I come across some games and I go, oh, don't feel right about this. There's probably an issue here, an issue there, but I seem to get over them when it comes to kickoff. Jim, just I suppose we'll have a look at this Villa game in detail as the show goes on. But what are you looking for from Liverpool tomorrow? Are you looking for a team to come out and, we're starting a really heavy schedule now. A really, really heavy schedule between now and we have an international break, I know, after City next week. But then we go into a hectic time with competitions, so many different competitions we're in. But between now and next week when we play City, and this game tomorrow in particular, what are you looking for from Liverpool? Are you looking for them to go out and quieten Villa Park early and stamp their authority on the game? Or are you looking to build their way into the game and then see where they get from there?
Well, in an ideal world, we come out with a high intensity tempo, when we're in and out of possession, dominate Villa early, get a couple of early goals, put the game to bed. About 60, 65, maybe 70 minutes, be sort of 2 or 3 goals clear. And then you start obviously making changes with one eye on next week and players having fresh legs. And that's not to be disrespectful to Villa, because they're not a bad side. I watched a fair bit of them under Dean Smith, and he's a good manager. He's got them playing some good football. But we are probably the best team in the league at the moment, and we should be going there. A team that hasn't long been promoted, struggling at the wrong end of the table, and dominating them from the first whistle. So that's what I'd love to see. But I'm sure obviously Aston Villa they'll have something to say about that.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Peter, for you, we're going into this game, and as I've said earlier, we're going into games and we're looking for the positives from Liverpool and how strong we are, and even the bench is mentioned every week as to what we could do and what we can't do. What do you make of this Villa side? I think they've played 10. I think they might have. I think it's something like 3 wins, a couple of draws, a couple 4 or 5 defeats. But what have you made of Villa so far? Because in patches, I think they've been really good.
Yeah, to be honest, I've not seen a great deal of Aston Villa. I watched the game that they played against Everton a little bit earlier on in the season, and in that game, the guy Wesley up front seemed to have a really good game, put himself about. He's a big lad, he's strong. They've also got John McGinn in the midfield, who's highly rated as well, and looking to impress in his first season in the Premier League. So yeah, and I know they spent a lot of money in the summer. They've really packed out that squad, and they're looking to stay in the Premier League, obviously. So by no stretch of the imagination, it's going to be an easy game. It's going to be a very difficult fixture, but I just think that Liverpool have got far too much in the locker for Aston Villa, and we can go there with confidence, and I fully expect us to come away with the 3 points tomorrow.
Do you know something? I suppose the big debate all this week, and we'll go on and rumble on until the team is announced at about 2:00 tomorrow. And Grizz asks the question in the live chat: does Fabinho start? Arcadian says on YouTube he does not start in his opinion. A few people are saying they feel he will. Mick reckons we'll suffocate them and get the win. But just from your point of view, Jim, it is a game tomorrow. It's a tricky one, I suppose, going away to Villa Park. But the City game is absolutely monumental next week. I know it's so early in the season. For me, it's an absolutely huge game. It really, I'm not going to say it'll make or break our season, but it could be one that puts a little halt to a great run we're on, or absolutely rockets us into an area where you're going, this is 9 points now, or it could be even more depending on results over the weekend. But what's your take on this with Fabinho? Does he start? Does he not start? Because I've seen people say, he has to start. He can manage himself through the game. I've seen others say, no, you can't trust the referees in this league. They'll give a yellow card, and just because they'll see their name written up in lights when it comes to headlines. What way do you go with this, Jim?
It is a difficult one, and to be honest, since you WhatsApped me earlier with the agenda, I've been going back and forth on it, trying to work out what I would, what the answer would be to this. And I guess from a coaching perspective, again, you've got to look at it and think tomorrow is the biggest game. Yeah, Man City's coming up, but tomorrow is the biggest game. So you want to field your best team. You want to get that game done, and you're looking at possibly getting the game done early, getting him off, because he is a definite starter in our best team. Obviously, the other side of that is if he does get suspended, he picks up the yellow card early doors tomorrow. What impact does that have on him? What impact does it have on the rest of the players? Because they then know that he's suspended for the Man City game. So I think that's obviously going to be a conversation that the Klopp and the rest of the coaching staff will be having. Personally, if he was asking me what my opinion was on it, I would probably say I'd have him on the bench tomorrow. And that's not just because I'm worried about him getting a yellow card. He has, I think, started nearly every game in the league. So, yeah, I know we had a rest midweek, but we have got a lot of football coming up. I'd probably have him on the bench tomorrow as a bit of insurance. start in the midfield. You know, you're looking at Henderson will start, I would have thought. Wijnaldum will start. And Oxlade-Chamberlain probably, because Keita, I think, might be out with an injury. So there are options there. And of course, James Milner as well. So there's options there to fill in that position. And I think we should have enough with that. So that's the way I go with that.
Yeah. Kev O'Sullivan says we have a squad for a reason. He shouldn't need to start these sort of games if you know, in this sort of situation. Arcadian says, you know, focusing on the next game is rule of thumb, but he feels this may be the exception. Rocca 2010 says always one game at a time, the Liverpool way. Ray Dickinson reckons we must beat City next week, and Fabinho is essential to that. So a lot of people are, you know, there's a good mix of answers here with regards to it. The Arcadian says again, the reward of winning versus City with Fab is greater than the risk of dropping points versus Villa without him. It's a fair point as well. Peter, where do you go with this?
It is a fair point.
Yeah, go on, Jim. Yeah, you're okay.
You know, just one other caveat is we have had good results against City without him. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain's been the big difference the last couple of times we've played them. So, yeah, whilst Fabinho is obviously he's in great form and he's playing great, if he was to miss out, I don't think it'd be the end of the world.
Yeah, you know, I think what people are looking at, Jim, is away at Man City last season. We didn't start with him. He came on and he made a massive difference to us. So that's probably where, you know, people are thinking back to the most recent game. Maybe where it's coming from. Mick says Fabinho has struggled in the fastest games we've played, so might not be not such a big miss as people are saying versus City. Adam Petruccione says Fabinho's yellows are typically intentional. I think he'd be intelligent enough to get through 60. There you go. It could be only 30 needed if we go with what Jim is putting forward. And I suppose it's not a bad idea. The bench is not a bad idea because a lot of people are just thinking play him or don't have him there. You know what I mean? Peter, what way do you go with this? What side of the fence do you fall down on, or are you sitting on that fence and not making a decision on it, I suppose?
No, I agree with the lad in the chat room. I think it was it Rocket?
Yeah, Rocket, yeah.
Who said that? Yeah, who said you take it one game at a time. I know the thing with Fabinho is if he does pick up the yellow card, then he'll obviously miss the Manchester City game. But I just think that Aston Villa are not going to be any mugs, and we need to keep the momentum going. And Fabinho is vital to the way we play. He was outstanding last week in the game against Tottenham. Covers so much of the pitch, and a lot of our play now goes through him, and he's pivotal, putting balls out wide. And I just think if we can get a couple of goals in the bag, maybe playing for 60 minutes and then withdraw them from the game. I just think that he should really be able to navigate his way around a 90-minute football match without being the yellow card. That he can. He's old enough now and experienced enough to be able to do that. So for me, he starts the game, and I think Jurgen Klopp will start him, and then providing that we do take a lead in the game, hopefully with a couple of goal lead, he'll withdraw them and then rest them for the midweek game and the following game against Manchester City on the Sunday.
Yeah, well, for me, you know, to be honest with you, Jim has thrown a different light on this for me tonight. I'd probably agree with Jim, and I'd probably go with him and put him on the bench. You know, I do believe we should have enough there to go and beat Villa. We have enough to go and beat nearly every team in this league if we're missing one player. But I think the idea of him on the bench, and if he has to come on after 60 or 70 or 80, you know, if we're you know hanging on and he needs someone to come in there and just break things up, I think it's a decent idea. A lot of people are saying, you know, it's not in Klopp's nature to not play him. We'll see what his nature is at 2:00 tomorrow. It's going to be a very, very interesting decision. Kev O'Sullivan says, God help us if we ever gets injured listening to this. Yeah, Kev, no, but you know what? If he's injured, you make do with it. But and you plan, but when you're looking a week ahead and that game, you know, it's one of those, like, he could get injured against City in a win, and then you're saying, right, we can get through until he's back. But I think it's just that game is, I think everyone that's watched the Premier League believes that could be a pivotal game, and it's what will it be? the 9th, 10th of November, the kind of way. So it's a massive game. Jerzinho says Genie in the 6. He was boss there in the Champions League versus City a few times. Rocket says, imagine if we lost against Villa through complacency and then at the face City. Let's win this one first. Again, another fair point. It really is. Like it's a very interesting debate to have on a player that's really available.
I don't think there's not like a definite right answer.
No, there's definitely not. No,
but I think with the fixtures that are coming up for all of November and all of December, and historically our poor record over the festive and New Year period anyway, and the Klopp, I think we'll probably see some rotation throughout every single game, even the Man City games, because we have to be mindful of that. We haven't got an infinite number of players, so there will be some rotation anyway. And I take Kev's point. We are talking about him like he's world class, Fabinho, and he is. But I think we can manage without him. I'd be obviously more worried if, say, Van Dijk or one of the front three were out, sort of suspended / or injured long term.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if he hadn't got this yellow hanging over him, and the rumour went around that we're going to give him a little rest because he's had a lot of football and international break, we'd probably just go, okay, yeah, fine. It's just, I think it's just this game that's 9 days away from now. I think it's just absolutely in everyone's, like, it's basically, I think Liverpool and City fans have a tunnel vision towards this game, and regardless of what goes in between, I think if a winner comes out with that, it either blows the league open, or it could lead to Liverpool just going over the hill and seeing how far away they can get. Just to let you know, lads, Dave's LFC chats that watches this show, comments on this show, really nice lad. He has a signed copy of the book Let's Talk About 6 by Chris Perkins. Chris is a season ticket holder at Anfield, and he has a signed copy, and he said, look, I have one there if you want to give it away. So I'm going to give it away tonight. So stay tuned. In the last 5 minutes, I'm just going to ask a question. First person to come in with the answer will win. If you're on Periscope and or you're on Twitter, I'll find you and I can get your details. If you're on YouTube, you will need to send us a message, or put a comment on after this video so we can actually find you and get your details and stuff. It's a little bit more difficult on YouTube if the winner is from there. So that will be coming later on. People may notice that behind me, you'll see kind of the background isn't as dull and as plain as it was. We've managed to get a new backdrop put in behind me. The designs you can see behind me is from Jimmy, from Entire Designs. He gave us the designs and he says, yeah, absolutely, walk away with them. So we went and got them done. So a big thanks to Jimmy for doing that. It brightens up the broadcast. It's really nice, and my wife hasn't gone absolutely crazy for me doing it. So it's everyone's a winner. But look, moving on. I suppose we're going to have to look at what way we're going to line up. Fabinho aside, when you lads go to pick your teams, you'll probably pick him in there, or you won't. And we know what way you fall on that then when we get to it. But Jim, I'll come to you first. You spoke there about rotation, and the Fabinho one is the big talking point of the week. But is there anything else you can see where there might be a little surprise in this Liverpool side, or do you think he'll just go with what he knows and what he trusts?
I suppose he could give Salah another week, so he could go with Origi, because I know Salah's been struggling with a bit of an ankle knock, and Origi scored again in midweek. Even though I'm not 100% sold on Origi. That could be an option. I think the back four, it'd be interesting to see if he goes with Lovren or Gomez, because I think that might have a bit of an impact on if Fabinho plays anyway, depending on who goes in there. But the goalkeeper obviously picks himself. The two full-backs pick themselves. I would probably go Lovren tomorrow alongside Van Dijk. Midfield, Milner. I go Milner, Henderson, and Wijnaldum to start, and then the front three I'd probably go Firmino, Mane, and Origi. Yeah, so I think I'd probably go with that to start tomorrow, and the rest on the bench.
Okay, that's fair enough. Peter, so would you go any way different to that? It
all depends really on the fitness of Mohamed Salah, doesn't it? But He's had a full week's rest now, hasn't he, from the game against Tottenham, and I think he's been in the training pitches, hasn't he? So if he's fit, I'd imagine he'd start. So yeah, I'd say it'd be Alisson, usual back four, apart from Matip being out, obviously. So Trent, Van Dijk, Lovren, Andy Robertson. I still think Fabinho will start the game, and possibly Wijnaldum. He could choose to rest up Henderson. Oxlade-Chamberlain's come good in his last couple of games, hasn't he? Scored 2 against Genk away, and then scored an absolute worldie against Arsenal in the week. So I think he is pushing for a starting place. You might see Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So I'll go with Fabinho, Chamberlain, and Wijnaldum in the midfield, with Salah, Firmino, and Sadio Mane in the front three striking positions. Obviously, Origi on the bench to come on if he chooses to rest one of the front three lads during the game.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, like Jim says there about maybe Salah another week and you might go with Origi. I think you might see a rest for Salah if it comes. I think it might be. We have Genk during the week, don't we? It could come there. For me, I think we're going to have to go with Alisson in goal. I think you go Trent and Robertson as your fullbacks. I think it will be Lovren, seeing as that Gomez played during the week. But Gomez, just touching on Gomez, I think it's a great chance now. Although because of Matip having this injury, but it is a great chance for Gomez to focus the mind a little bit, and because he felt like he was drifting a bit as a player. Now I know that's said about a lot of players that just drift through a career, but I think he's just being just something about Gomez just doesn't look like there's an intensity to him. But I think that might focus his mind, that Matip injury. So, but I think he will go Lovren and Van Dijk. In midfield, I think he's gonna go Wijnaldum, Henderson, and I go Milner. The simple reason being, I can see Liverpool trying to literally push Villa into the middle of the park as much as they can, and then nick it off them, and then look for that quality to shine. And if you need an Oxlade-Chamberlain to, later on in the game, or a Fabinho, like Jim says, I think I might go with Milner. I know he played during the week. I know he did, but if you're going to make it solid, make it absolutely solid in there, and then the front three as normal. Jim, I don't know if you've seen an awful lot of Villa, but is there anything that stands out that worries you? Or some, even from a tactical point of view, is there somebody there that we need to get a hold of early and say, no, this isn't happening today, and snuff it out from the very beginning? And when I say that, I'm talking about, i.e., John McGinn, who seems to be having a decent
John
season.
McGinn he's been great since he's gone there. Last season in the Championship, and obviously he's carried that form on in the Premier League. Jack Grealish, he's had a really good start to the season. Very, very.
He's a doubt.
He's a doubt, didn't he? Yeah, I was just reading that. He's a doubt. So if he misses out, that would be decent for us, because he is a good player. He started the season well. He plays just off the left, I think, and he can go where he wants. So he would be a worry. And I think the guy up front, Wesley, he's a big lump of a guy. If his aim will be obviously pull onto Gomez or Lovren, whoever starts, and try and dominate them. I think he's one of those strikers. And Villa have had a couple of these over the years where one day he's absolutely unplayable and he looks a world beater, and the rest of the time he looks terrible. I think we paid like 35 million quid or something for one of those a few years ago. So hopefully he doesn't have that sort of out of the world worldy sort of game tomorrow, which would be good. But they play good football. They move the ball around nicely. They're not that solid in defence, to be fair. They do concede quite a few goals, so that should be positive for us. But they're not a bad football side. But I just think that they shouldn't be able to hurt us if we're where we need to be, sort of intensity wise, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits about Villa. Like John McGinn has been impressive. Grealish has been impressive for them in certain games from what I've read. He is a doubt. The manager said the other night he has reacted well to whatever treatment he's being given, but he's not sure if it'll happen on Saturday. Wesley up front seems willing, But other than that, I've watched them. Like I watched them away at Arsenal, and they got beaten 3-2. I think Arsenal were down to 10 men for a good chunk of that game. probably more than 45 minutes actually, and they look like you could get at Villa, especially in around their centre halves and play around them. And I think Firmino could be absolutely pivotal to that tomorrow. Kev O'Sullivan says the same back five and front three with Genie, Hendo and Ox. I think playing full-back for Milner takes it out of him 3 starts in a week. It's a fair point. I don't know, in my mind, I just want it to be absolutely massively solid when it comes to this game tomorrow. Rocket said Ox has scored some great goals, but general play has been average, and he's still on his way back. The Acadian says Ox on the bench. He started Genk and Arsenal. That they won't start again in 10 days. Grealish won't want to miss this type of game, says Kev O'Sullivan. Yeah, Grealish likes to get up for these games, and you know, I don't know whether he's trying to still put himself in the shop window. He was close to move to Spurs probably 18 months ago, and it never came off. But we'll have to see if he makes it. But you'd have to hope that Liverpool have enough about him to go and do this. Peter, travelling to Villa Park. Some people say it's never easy, but I've seen Liverpool go there and win easy on many occasions. Does the 3 o'clock thing help? You know, rather than it being 5:30 on a Saturday, or you know, I don't mind the 12:30 on Saturday stuff because the home team, did you get a chance to get up for it? But does the 3 o'clock thing help, Peter, rather than having, like I said, having to travel there on a Monday night or a Friday night or a Saturday even?
Well, for me, I think it's going to be a little bit alien to the lads, isn't it? Because they're just not used to playing 3 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday anymore. It's like you say, it's either early or late due to the television. So it's not very often that we come across a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday for Liverpool. But yeah, no matter what time of the day kickoff, I think the team should be ready, and they've trained all week, haven't they, in preparation for this game. Obviously, they had the Arsenal game in midweek, which was a little bit of a hindrance, I think, from Jurgen Klopp's point of view, and it was a game that I think he wasn't too bothered about going out, was he? It was just one of them, and it seems to have caused a lot of trouble going forward as well with the fixture list. So I think that the lads who didn't play in that game would have been training in the background in preparation for the game against Aston Villa, and I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will have them set up and ready for a 3 p.m. kickoff and whatever time kickoff is in front of us on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, when you're going away from home, you just like a kickoff that just feels right, and I just think this one tomorrow, it's a nice time for us. I wouldn't like to be going there at 5:30 on a Saturday, let's put it that way. Jim, we've had discussions over the last, and I wanted to put this to you. I know you're and Peter as well, you're both coaches, right? So I wanted to ask this question to both of you, and Jim, I'll start with you, and I'll do this just before we go on and make predictions on the game. But our midfield gets talked about an awful lot, Jim, right? The makeup of it, what player does what player is better at doing certain things than others. And I always make the point, Jim, and I could be talking out of my backside here, but look, I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you find that this midfield, Jim, the makeup of it just has, the first thing that has to be is absolutely functional in order to, allow different players, i.e. Robertson, Trent and the front three to absolutely go and do what they need to do? How difficult, I suppose, is it if you wanted to, i.e. change a Henderson? How hard is it to go out and get a player that works as hard as him and also add that bit of flair that a lot of supporters would like to see in their midfield?
Well, I think first of all, you've got to look at what are the principles of Liverpool's play. In terms of what do the coaching staff, it all comes from the manager, what do the coaching staff want their team to be able to do? And it's clear that Jurgen Klopp likes his midfield to be able to work as hard as they possibly can, both in and out of possession, to be able to win the ball back high up the pitch and to be able to supplement our defensive positioning when we lose the ball or if our fullbacks are attacking, because we throw both fullbacks forward. All three forwards are allowed to pretty much cheat and stay up the pitch when we're out of possession. So if you've got a midfielder in there, for example, let's pick that Danny Ceballos guy at Arsenal, who is a lovely footballer. Great on the ball, deep line footballer, wants the ball to feet all the time. Yep. But he's the player that dictates the pace, not the team itself. And also, he, out of possession, is going to need two dogs, really, to do all his running for him, because he's not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Jurgen Klopp likes his teams, the hub of his teams, to be the midfielders who can get up and down the pitch, get out to cover the fullbacks, and to allow the front three to basically stay ahead of the ball so that we can counter-attack. Now, if you're setting your team up to do that as a coach, you've got to have the players available to you to do those jobs. Now, it might be that football, some fans want James Milner gone, some fans want Henderson gone. But the reality is those guys do the job the Klopp wants. Of course, every football player will go through peaks and troughs with their performances. And some of the players are struggling at the moment. Henderson, I think I've watched him for the last couple of weeks now, going back to the England games, I watched him play. His form is off the cliff. He could probably do with a rest, but I don't think Klopp will give him a rest. Mm-hmm. And I think having someone like Henderson, Milner or Wijnaldum in those positions does then allow to add an extra dimension of Oxlade-Chamberlain, who is one of those who can drive with the ball, get ahead of the play, and be a further attacking threat with the front three. So I think that's what it comes down to for me personally. That's what you're looking to set your team up to do. And bear in mind, two of our biggest playmakers are our fullbacks. You don't want a team of 10 outfield players who are playmakers. You need people there who can dog it around and win the ball back for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I tried to think the other day, and I'm sure people will throw names at me all over the place, but I've said it on numerous occasions, and I keep going back to the Norwich game at the start of the season when Henderson is playing in the midfield with Wijnaldum and with Fabinho, and he's literally decided that he's going to look after the right-hand side of Liverpool's team, and he's going to tell Mohamed Salah to stand up against their left centre half, and he'll look after the rest. And he worked so hard, and he was decent on the ball. He won the ball. He released it. He got it. He got it to Trent. He got it to Salah. He got it into midfield. But I was trying to think the other day. People do knock Henderson and Wijnaldum, and Lallana. I don't see a future for Liverpool. So, but like just focusing in on Henderson itself, I find it difficult to find a player that can put that work rate in and be intelligent in the position that he is, and go out and find that player that can do all that and then come in and be flair as well. I think it's a very hard job to do, and I think it might be the biggest thing that's holding Naby Keita back. I think Naby Keita is beautiful on the ball. He likes to get away from players. He likes to dribble with it. But going back the other way and defensively, I think he's way off the mark. Absolutely way off the mark. And I think that's his biggest downfall in this team. The fitness thing is huge, but I think having the all-round play, and I'm not saying Henderson is the complete midfielder, but Henderson is good enough at working very, very hard for the team and also knowing when he has the ball what to do with it. Peter,
well, he gets the job he's asked to do, and it doesn't. A lot of the good things that he probably does are not on the ball, so they don't get seen. When the game's going on, you're watching for players to get back in position behind the ball, organise players, talk to other players, get your organisation, get set. Setting those traps for players to be able to press the ball and win it back quickly, etc. So lots of that happens off the ball. It's not always about what's happening on the ball. Mm-hmm. Now, Jurgen Klopp and the coaching staff see these players 7 days a week. They know who can do what they want them to do. The other thing you've got to factor in is the opposition. Sometimes teams don't allow you to do what you want to do, but this Liverpool team, it's a well-oiled machine at the moment. So I wouldn't really be thinking, tear it up and look for sort of 3 or 4 new midfielders in the summer. Definitely not.
No, I don't see it either. I think they would try. To be honest with you, if you're looking at all those midfielders now, and I'll put Lallana out of the equation, simply because his contract is running down. But if you're looking to replace one of those midfielders at the moment on form and on reliability and performance, it would probably be Naby Keita, which is the funny thing of it all. It's a bit mad. Peter, just a short one from you as well. Like Kevin Sullivan says, who could do it? Kante could do it. I think Kante could do a lot of what he does. I think Jordan Henderson's slightly better on the ball than Kante. I will say that. I think he's a better range of passing than Kante, but we'll have, that's an argument you could have all day. Kante's a fabulous footballer, though. I will say that. Peter, for you, just the midfield, what's your thoughts on it? Is it functional? Do you think I suppose the question is, do you think Liverpool could get away with bringing somebody in that, or probably had the 75% work rate of Jordan Henderson and a bit more going forward. Do you think they could balance that and get away with it? And I'm not calling for Henderson to be thrown out of the team, but that's what people are looking for. Do you think Liverpool could get away with that?
Yeah, I think the thing with Jordan Henderson is he splits opinion, doesn't he? He really does. And for me, like you was just saying, he works so hard. He is a leader on the pitch. He is bossing people about. He's telling people where to go, and a lot of the younger lads in the squad do look up to him. But I think we do lack just a little bit of creativity, and it's a very workman-like midfield, isn't it? Most of the time with Fabinho, Gini, and Henderson, and the creative side of their game isn't up to like you say, a Naby Keita who going forward who can split a defence with a pass and take one or two players on. I think the others, they're very similar players, but very, very good players, don't get me wrong, but I just think we do lack that little bit of creativity that we had when Philip Coutinho was in the side, if you like, and he could pull a few strings and put balls in behind the fence and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's a very workmanlike midfield, but if we could add just a little sprinkle of creativity into the mix of them three players, then we basically be one of the best teams in the world. Already are, but just adding that little bit of extra creativity for me would set us apart from the rest of, especially in the Premier League.
Yeah, Acadian says Hendo gives you consistency. And Kevin Sullivan, I misread his point slightly. He said his point is it's a short list of people. Like he literally came up with Kante, so he's saying it's short list. It's a fair point. Kev also said Henderson's problem is he's English. I genuinely believe he's underrated because he's not German, French, or Italian. Yeah, it could be a case of that. Listen, before we get the predictions for the game tomorrow afternoon. Just one last mention. This signed copy of Chris Perkins' book, Let's Talk About Six, to give away. I am going to give it away. The question for people is, who did Divock Origi score his first competitive goal for Liverpool against? First person in with the answer on the chat room, and I'll get your details either just after this show. I'll get your details one way or the other. Predictions. Jim, 3 o'clock kickoff, Villa Park. Looking for 10 wins out of 11, and one of those where, going into City next week where you're on a real high and close to perfection this season in the league. What do you think happens tomorrow afternoon?
3-1.
3-1. Do you want to give me some scorers, Jim?
Yeah, 3-1. Henderson. Mm-hmm. And Fabinho, and I'll go for a Trent Alexander free kick.
Hendo, Fabinho, and a
Firmino.
Firmino. Okay, I thought.
Yeah, apologies.
I was taking Henderson, and then I thought, no, he's taking the piss out of me now with Fabinho. I thought you were going to say Alisson. No, I thought you were going to say an Alisson penalty as well.
So, no, I wouldn't do that. No.
Oh, okay. Peter, what are you going with?
I think we will keep a clean sheet, and I think we'll score 3. So I'm going to go with a 3-0 victory for Liverpool in this game. Okay. Like Jim said, I fancy Firmino to get back on the score sheet myself. He's not scored too many this season, although he's played very, very well in most of the games. He's looked more likely to score away from home this season for some reason. So yeah, I think Bobby's due a goal, and I think I'm going to go for the front three altogether. Goal tomorrow, Salah and Mane as well. I just think it's one of them games where Villa's defence is definitely there to be got at, and I think we'll be too strong for them. And yeah, 3-0 for me.
Okay. Mick says 4-2 to Liverpool. Rocket says 2-0 to Liverpool. The Acadian says 3-1. Salah, Firmino and VVD. Kev O'Sullivan says Bobby is due a goal. Just on that question about Divock Origi's first competitive goal for Liverpool, I'll give you a clue. He scored a hat-trick in the game. So the first answer in there. If I get to the end of this show and no one's given me the answer, the first person to tweet me at LFC Day Trippers will win that. Jorginho says he thinks Ox comes off the bench and smashes one in a 4-2 win. For me, I'm going to go with I said 3-0 earlier, but do you know what? I'm going to go with a 2-0 win. I think Firmino is due a goal, and I think the way their centre halves play, there's one lad there, and I can't think of his name, and he looks shaky as anything. So I think Firmino might get in and around him. So I'm going to go with Firmino, and I'm going to go with, I'd love to see Van Dijk get one. Do you know what? No, I'd love to see Lovren get one. Just for the entertainment. Mick says Southampton. The correct answer is Southampton. Mick, do me a favour, send me an email at lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com. If you send me a message there, or send me a private message at lfcdaytrippers on Twitter, and I will get that book out to you. And congratulations, you were straight in there with the hat-trick. Once I get the hat-trick clue, Mick was straight in with Southampton. Look, it's been a brilliant show, 40 minutes. It's been excellent. Jim, for the first time being on this show, you've been an absolute pleasure to speak to. Thanks a million.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks very much for asking me on.
And I'll have you on again soon, I promise. Peter, been a pleasure as always, mate, and I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Yeah, thanks very much, Gav, and thanks for inviting me on, and pleased to speak to Jim for the first time as well. So enjoyed it, lads.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you.
Good. I think we make a great team.
Problem.
Don't let anybody tell you any different. That's been the Fatback 4 Daily for Friday night. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday. Hopefully the Reds go and do another win on the board, another 3 points, and we're all happy out before we go and destroy Genk and then take Man City apart at Anfield on Sunday week. That's been it. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.